Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Talking Cafe from Mendip area. I'm very lucky today. I've got a special guest who's going to talk about lasting power of attorney. Her name's Julie Antoniadis, and I'm going to let her carry on because this is the subject which I really have little knowledge about. So, Julie, I'm sure is going to give us a really good presentation on the importance and the reasons why we should think about lasting power of attorney. So if you'd like to take it away, Julie, that'd be fantastic.
Okay, thank you for asking me to come on, Elaine.
No problem.
You're quite correct. Lasting powers of attorney, not exciting, but very, very important. What they actually are is they give the power to someone of your choosing to make decisions on your behalf if you've not got capacity. So if you can't make those decisions because, for example, a brain injury, advanced dementia, a coma, something like that, it could be temporary or it could be a permanent thing. Your loved ones, whether you're married to them, have given birth to them, or sisters, brothers, adult, whatever, cannot make decisions for you. Legally, the various organisations will want to talk to them on understanding what's happened to you, but they can't. Without you actually, before you lose capacity, having a power of attorney. It has been done to ensure that someone can't take over things. So someone perhaps who's a little bit more forceful can't jump in and make your decisions for you. But in reality, what it does mean is most of us don't realise until we perhaps need it. And then we find that our husband can't say what we want or not want if we're in hospital, even to the extent of if you're on your own and so everything is single, your sister, brother, adult children can't talk to the bank to sort out your finances or to help you out in that way if you can't do it yourself because you haven't got capacity. As I said, there are two specific powers of attorney. One is health and welfare. So that covers everything from operations to if you needed to go into a care home, where would you go? Which one would it be? What location, etc. If you couldn't make that decision yourself. It could be as simple as how often do you like your haircut? What food do you like? Are you vegetarian? Do you not like fish? Something like, if you can't express yourself, as silly as these things may seem, legally, whoever's looking after you or providing that for you cannot take somebody else's word for it. So the other one is finance and property. Sorry.
No, come across it a lot actually with clients. So with experience with, first things linked with adult social care. Yeah, as I said, the importance of getting this in place, I can see from my own experience, through my work. So yeah, no, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. But...
No, not interrupting at all. Not interrupting at all. So the other lasting power of attorney is finance and property. And as it suggests, when it's talking about property, most of us would think of our house. It's not just our house. It could be our personal possessions. So what happens to those? I.e., do they need to go into safekeeping if we're not at home for a period of time? Are we having care in a care home or in hospital or something like that? Again, someone cannot take them and put them safely for you unless they've got the legal power to do, i.e., to be your attorney, that you've given them in advance. They can't talk to the electricity company, for example, to pay the bill for you, because those utility companies can't tell that person how much is outstanding. And I have, in personal experience, had someone that actually got cut off after a long, long time, and he was cut off and he couldn't handle it himself for various reasons. And he was single, but even if he had been married, if his wife hadn't been on the account, they wouldn't have spoken to her. But his brother, who wanted to pay the bill, couldn't do that either. The electricity company genuinely wanted to say, yeah, please, yes, we would like this debt paid and we'd like to put your brother back and renew his electricity, but they couldn't do so. So it was a prolonged and painful time, and with a lot of guesswork and just sort of throwing money at it until it was enough that they could actually restore it. But with a power of attorney, if his brother had given that to him, he would have been there. He would have said, yeah, I've got power of attorney for Mr. So-and-so. They would have it on there. And in fact, now it's even quicker. They can actually look it up once you register your power of attorneys, which is great. And say, yeah, I can see that you've got power to speak. What would you, what can we tell you? So that's the two things. The attorneys, it is a legal name, but all it means is an adult over 18 that you have chosen. They must also have capacity, but you have chosen to, as I said, to speak for you if you can't.
Yeah, this is a lot. As I said, it's that certain organisations, unless you've got somebody that can speak for that person. Yeah, but no, it's definitely highlighting how it is, I think. Yeah.
Well, legally, no organisation is allowed to take somebody else's word for it. I know it sounds daft, particularly when it's a bill wanting to be paid. They're not really giving out information, but legally they're not allowed to say anything. So, so your attorneys, usually people have... Sorry. Usually people will have their spouse, if they're married, or the person that they live with as an attorney. But I would always recommend more than one in case that one attorney is also not available. You want it to, it may last many, many decades, hopefully, touch wood, depending on what age you are when you take it out. And you may never need it. But it's great insurance if you do, and a great help to your loved ones to be able to do that, to help you. Adult children are often chosen along with the spouse or partner, brothers, sisters. It could be grandchildren, depending again on ages. It's always good to have someone slightly younger than you, because obviously for them to be in good health should you need it in the future. So I would always recommend a mix. You can have 4 main attorneys, you don't have to, and you can have 4 substitute attorneys. Your main attorneys can either make decisions only together, in which case they've all got to be together or be able to sign something depending on what's required, or most flexible is to give them what is called joint and several, where one of them can speak for the others. And in reality, that's generally what happens. Generally what would happen if something comes up, depending on how urgent it is, one will sort of talk to the others, but it'd be the one that's there on the ground, if you like, at the hospital or on the phone to whoever they need to speak to. But they will have taken advice from the others as to what they think. Substitute wise, they only come into play if any of your main attorneys, for whatever reason, cannot act. Then maybe they're out of the country, maybe sadly they've passed away, or they're not well themselves. We cannot tell. So it just gives that additional flexibility. Why should you have them? Well, as I've said, if you don't have them, you don't have a voice. Very, very much so. I'm an attorney for my mother, as is my brother and sister. And my mother's quite insistent that she does not want to be resuscitated. I know obviously you can have a separate DNR, but she has got that on her power of attorney, and you can tailor them very much for yourself, both of them. You can say specifically if you don't want bank accounts to be used or property to be sold, or specific, you don't want to go in a particular care home, or if that came to it. So you can give your wishes very clearly. But again, in practice, many people choose to tell their attorneys these things as time goes on, what they prefer. But you can actually put that down, and it's then legally binding. So if she was to come into that situation, we would know that we could tell the medical staff that she does not want to be resuscitated, and they are her wishes. As I said, it could be temporary. It could be something. I had a much younger lady in her 30s who sadly had a brain bleed a few years ago, and at that time she had a partner. They weren't married, but even if they were, he still wouldn't have been able to make decisions for her. And her family came, but they again advised, but the nursing staff, it was very difficult, and the medical team to take their opinions because there was nothing legally there. So it made it very difficult. Fortunately, she's fine. She's well, she's recovered. But, you know, we don't expect these things to happen. But sometimes they do. And years ago, probably decades ago, maybe a bit more, it would have been much more, if you like, common sense in that automatically our partner or our spouse would have been able to decide for us. But the law has changed, and many people don't know until they're faced with that. And why should they?
Yeah, so it's sort of getting the message out there, isn't it, that these things do need to be thought about. You know, like I say, they might not come to need to be used, but if you can add as much detail as you can, I'm sure that makes your job as well. And if anyone that is an attorney, it makes it much easier, doesn't it, for them? Yeah.
It does, definitely, and it helps them to structure a conversation. We don't always like talking about those things, particularly to our adult children, perhaps, but it does form a basis and make it much more normal and it's still emotional, but it takes some of the emotion out, and we get to say what we want. We still get to have our voice.
Yeah, no, it's something that, you know, it really needs addressing, doesn't it? Yeah.
So how can you do them? Well, there's a number of ways that you can do them. You can do them via a solicitor. You can do them via someone like myself who's a legal executive. You can do them online yourself. So there's different methods that you can do so. The only thing I'm also doing it online is that you just need to bear in mind there are 25 pages. One is 25 pages, the other is 26. And when you're tailoring it, if you're going to, you may not think the things that you want, or if you're too rigid, it might not work for you in 20, 30 years' time. So it's always good to get advice. So I would just be aware of that. Then the Office of the Public Guardian, the government body that oversee them, they are highly regulated, so you are protected, but you will have chosen people that you trust, and those people don't necessarily have to be the same for finance as they do for health, but they may well be, depending on, you know, what works for you. It takes approximately 12 weeks from completing the paperwork. That will be you to fill in your parts and for your attorneys to fill in their parts. And then obviously for it to be checked that it's all correct. That's where, again, a legal professional does help, not just to tailor it to you, but to check, because it is giving power. It's very specific how it is signed, how it is written. And many people can make that mistake, and then it keeps coming back and forth, and ultimately might never get done, or you have to start the process all over again, which is very onerous. So approximately 12 weeks to get it registered. There is a registration fee for the Office of the Public Guardian, which is £82 per power of attorney. Okay, but there are exemptions. So it's quite a long list, but just briefly, if you're on some form of benefit, like guaranteed pension credit or universal credit, something like that, then you would be eligible to not pay the fee. If your income is £1,000 or below per month, you would get a reduction of 50% on that fee. So it does encompass quite a lot of people, which is good. So that shouldn't be a barrier to stop you doing them. I mean, that's it. Do you have any questions, Elaine?
I'll just unmute my mic. It's going to be a feedback. No, it's just what you said was really interesting. So when, you know, so if somebody is a power of it is registered somewhere, so when you deal with these businesses, if you do need to phone, if the attorney does have to phone on someone's behalf, they will be able to look that up now, will they, online? So it's like an instant thing that they can find out if you're saying,
Yeah, so any powers of attorney that has been registered since the end of last year, so any new ones that we're talking to people about, definitely. Once it's registered, they'll get a letter and they don't have to. It's something that they voluntarily say, yes, I'm happy for my details to be passed to, you know, whoever if needed. So again, it's your attorneys apply, saying, yep, okay, yes, to whoever it is, the medical team, you can access that online, and there's a specific PIN number, and they can do it. So it makes it so much more quicker. You don't need to give copies to people. Yeah, it's excellent now. It really is good.
Yeah, that was interesting, because I do sometimes get where people have said they've got power of attorney, and it's like, well, how do you get that kind of proof? It's no, so that's good to know. No, I think that's really clear. Are there any particular phone numbers that people can phone for advice about it, or
yes,
yeah,
the Office of the Public Guardian are excellent. Their number is 0300 456 0300, and they have and they have an excellent website as well, which is publicguardian.gov.uk, which I can put on later, or one of your wonderful people can. Also, Age UK also very, they've got on their website, they've got excellent details of a power of attorney, what it's for, what the duties are, etc. But again, also if you're using a legal professional, they will also give you that backup as well. So, but yeah, the Office of the Public Guardian, you can ring them during business hours, and they are lovely, and they will talk you through it, whether you're thinking about doing it, whether you've done it and it's yours and you've got questions, or you're an attorney and you're a bit worried about, what do I need to keep records? How do I do this? They'll talk you through it.
No, that's brilliant. That's really useful to know, because I know you said, I think you said it was the phone, and you can get through quite quickly, and any questions you might have. And as I think I did actually contact you, didn't I, a while back, because I'd had a referral which did involve lots of questions about power of attorney, and I thought, help, which is how sort of this today has come about, because it's something which I think probably the majority of people really don't know that much about until it comes down to it, when it might be needed, or I've had friends that have needed to apply for it in certain situations, and again, like you said, it can be temporary, can't it? So yeah, no, that is so useful, and that's really, really useful.
Yeah. And I think the other thing I think the other thing that's really important to know is that your attorneys can't override your decisions. So, for example, if you were diagnosed with dementia, as we know, that you're not necessarily in lack capacity. You may have capacity in the mornings, but by the afternoons you really can't make decisions, or it varies from day to day. But your attorneys have always got to ask you on any decision they're making on your behalf, whether that's medical or financial, to try what you would like. If you really can't, for what, because of the circumstance, because of the disease of dementia, make a decision, then they will make it for you. But you've always got to try, and they cannot override you just because they don't agree with it. That doesn't come into it. It's always still your power.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I did have a kind of situation, not linked with work, but a family where somebody was trying to override something. So that's really interesting, because the person had put in place, no, that was their decision, and that's what had to happen. So I've had personal experience of that. So that's really, really helpful. Well, thank you so much, Julie. That's absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for joining me today. And
you're very welcome.
Thank you. No, that's brilliant. And if anyone's got any further questions, then obviously I will put the numbers out later that you've given. I'll watch this back and I'll get the numbers, or I'll get in contact with you for the numbers. Okay. Right. That's brilliant. Thanks ever so much, then. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Goodbye. Thanks.
Bye. Bye.